I never believed in voices in the dark. Not really. But that night, everything changed. My name is Ethan, and I considered myself practical, grounded, someone who didn't get swept away by superstition or paranoia. Yet, there I was, lying on the cold floor of a studio apartment I had just moved into, the lights long since cut out, and an unfamiliar voice calling softly from somewhere in the shadows. Ethan. It wasn't a whisper, exactly. It was deeper, slower, deliberate, like it had been waiting for me. The hair on the back of my neck prickled, and I froze, unsure whether to panic or listen. My apartment was supposed to be empty. I had moved here alone. No roommates, no neighbors who could sneak in without me noticing. Yet someone, or something, had called my name. I wanted to laugh it off. Maybe it was the stress of moving, or the shadows playing tricks on my mind. But then it came again. Ethan. Come closer. The words were gentle but commanding, impossible to ignore. My pulse hammered. I swung my legs around, slowly getting to my feet, eyes scanning the darkness. The room looked normal enough in the dim moonlight seeping through the blinds, but every corner felt alive, every shadow shifting unnaturally. That's when I noticed it, a small envelope on the kitchen counter, sealed and perfectly positioned as if it had been waiting for me. My hands shook as I picked it up. No return address. Just my name, written in neat, looping letters I didn't recognize. I hesitated, feeling a mix of fear and curiosity. The voice seemed to drift from the shadows around me, almost coaxing. Open it, Ethan. It seemed to say. Inside was a single piece of paper and a pair of gloves, silk, soft, black. The note read simply, wear this. Follow the instructions. You'll understand soon. Don't let anyone see you, not yet. My mind raced. Was this some kind of prank? A delivery mistake? But something in the voice, in the way the shadows clung to the walls, made my instincts scream that this was serious. That if I didn't comply, whatever was orchestrating this night wouldn't stop. I slipped the gloves onto my hands, feeling the soft silk slide against my skin. It was oddly intimate, almost sensual. My reflection in the window caught me, a man alone in a dark apartment, gloves on, staring at a note that promised danger and transformation. A small part of me, a side I had rarely acknowledged, stirred. The thrill of doing something secret, something forbidden, coursed through me, mixing with fear until it was impossible to separate the two. Then the voice returned, closer now, more confident, playful even. Good, Ethan. Now look in the mirror. I hesitated. The mirrors in my apartment were few, mostly in the bedroom. My heartbeat surged as I walked toward the nearest one, gloves flexing against my fingers. When I looked, I froze. Someone, or something, was in the reflection with me. At first, I thought my eyes were deceiving me, but the figure mirrored my stance exactly. Only it wasn't exactly me. It was me, but altered. Feminine features blended seamlessly with my own, my jaw softened, my cheekbones lifted, lips fuller, eyes wider. My shoulders narrowed, and the clothes I was wearing in my imagination, silk blouse, fitted skirt, delicate heels, suddenly seemed natural on the reflection. The voice whispered again, intimate, teasing. You've always wondered, Ethan. Haven't you? Who you could be, if no one was watching. A shiver ran down my spine. I had wondered, yes. Always. In secret, in private, in quiet moments when I allowed myself to imagine. But never like this. Never with a voice guiding me, commanding me, and a reflection showing me exactly what I could become. The note had one final instruction. Follow the hallway. A door will appear. Step through, and become who you are meant to be, if you dare. I froze, torn. Logic screamed at me to stop, to throw the note away, to ignore the voice and the reflection. But my heartbeat betrayed me. That darker part, the curious, secretive part, wanted to obey, wanted to step through the unknown and see what lay beyond the shadows. I realized then that the night had already trapped me. Not physically, yet, but mentally, emotionally, and perhaps forever. The voice, the gloves, the mirror, the promise of transformation. It had me completely. And as I took my first hesitant step toward the hallway, the voice whispered once more, closer this time, almost in my ear. Ethan. It's time to meet yourself. Build up. He heard a voice in the dark. It knew his name. The hallway stretched before me, narrow and suffused with a faint, silvery light that seemed to seep from nowhere. My gloves brushed the walls as I walked, fingertips tingling against the cool paint. The voice had gone silent for a moment, leaving only a heavy, anticipatory quiet that pressed against my chest like a physical weight. Every step I took echoed too loudly, bouncing off walls that seemed to watch, waiting. Then it came again, soft, intimate, almost teasing. Ethan, you're ready. I froze. My heart thundered. Ready for what? I didn't know. And yet, I couldn't stop moving forward. Something inside me, the part I'd hidden for years, the part I'd only allowed myself to explore in stolen, private moments, urged me to obey, to see where this voice, this dark invitation, would take me. At the end of the hall, a door appeared. Not a physical door I had seen before, but a shimmering outline, like it had materialized from the shadows themselves. I approached it cautiously. The reflection in the glass nearby rippled oddly, and for a heartbeat, I thought I saw myself, not just as I was, but as I could be. Feminine, bold, poised. The reflection mirrored the secret I had buried deep inside, and my pulse surged with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. I swallowed hard, recalling the note's instruction: step through, and become who you are meant to be, if you dare. My fingers hovered over the doorknob. Every instinct screamed to retreat, to tear the gloves from my hands and flee back into the safety of the familiar apartment. And yet, I couldn't. The moment I touched the door, a soft click sounded behind me. My spine stiffened. Someone or something was observing. My breath caught. I had no idea whether this presence was physical or an echo of the voice that had summoned me here. The gloves felt warm now, like they were alive, and I realized the first step of transformation wasn't physical, it was psychological. I had to let go of fear. I had to accept the unknown. I opened the door. The room beyond was bathed in a gentle, unnatural light. It smelled faintly of lavender and vanilla, comforting, yet intoxicating. In the center of the room was a set of clothes laid out meticulously, a fitted blouse, a pencil skirt, stockings, and heels. Everything matched perfectly, as though it had been chosen for me alone. My pulse quickened. I hesitated at the threshold. The reflection in a mirror across the room stared back, altered in subtle but unmistakable ways. My jaw softened, cheekbones lifted, shoulders narrowed. Even my posture seemed different, more poised. A rush of adrenaline hit me. This was no ordinary crossdressing experiment. This was a test of courage, identity, and desire. The voice returned, whispering from all directions. Wear them, Ethan. Feel the person you were too afraid to become. Hands trembling, I picked up the blouse. The fabric was silk, soft and cool against my skin. As I slid it over my shoulders, a wave of sensation coursed through me. Vulnerability, power, excitement, and fear all at once. I could feel myself changing, posture aligning, chest rising and falling differently, a subtle sway in my hips that I had never felt before. Next came the skirt. I hesitated again, aware of the significance of each step. When I stepped into it and pulled it up, the fabric hugged my legs in a way that was simultaneously thrilling and terrifying. I could feel my identity shifting, merging with the reflection I had seen in the glass. The stockings and heels followed, each sensation magnifying the transformation. The silk slid up my legs, the heels forced a deliberate sway, and my reflection became more real than myself. My pulse raced with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. I was exposed, yet empowered. Vulnerable, yet alive. The house, or the voice controlling it, had succeeded in stripping me down to my essence, leaving nothing but the raw, electrifying experience of becoming someone else. Then came the real test. The voice whispered again, close, intimate, almost in my ear. Now move. Explore the space. Understand the power of who you are, and who sees you. I walked cautiously around the room, each step a lesson in balance, grace, and confidence. My reflection mirrored every motion, a perfect echo of my transformation. The shadows seemed to shift around me, alive and watchful. The house, or whatever had brought me here, was not content with passive observation. It demanded full participation, total surrender to the process. Suddenly, A faint sound from the far corner made me jump. A door creaked open. Beyond it was darkness, but the sense of being watched intensified. My pulse surged. I wasn't just exploring a room anymore. I was navigating a trap, a challenge designed to expose both my fears and desires. "Do you embrace it, Ethan?" the voice asked softly. "Or do you flee back to the safety of who you were?" I paused, hands on my hips, adjusting the blouse and skirt. The heels pressed into the floor with each deliberate step. My reflection stared back at me, poised, confident, vulnerable, alive. I realized then that the voice wasn't just commanding me, it was daring me to confront myself, to acknowledge the person I had always wanted to be, the secret version of myself I had hidden away. I stepped toward the next door, heart hammering, knowing that beyond it awaited the next challenge. The house seemed to hold its breath, the shadows leaning in, mirrors reflecting angles I hadn't noticed before. Every instinct screamed danger, every nerve tingled with anticipation. And in that moment, I understood the truth. This was no ordinary night, no ordinary apartment. This was a trial, a crucible, a test of identity and courage. And whether I succeeded or failed, there was no turning back. Climax. He heard a voice in the dark. It knew his name. The hallway stretched endlessly before me, bathed in a cold silvery light that seemed to pulse with the rhythm of my heartbeat. Each click of my heels on the polished floor echoed like a gunshot in the silence. I had fully embraced the transformation, the silk blouse clinging to my shoulders, the pencil skirt hugging my hips, the stockings smooth against my legs, and the heels forcing a deliberate, swaying rhythm in every step. Yet despite the thrill, fear gnawed at me, sharper than ever. The voice returned, low and teasing, coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. "You've done well, Ethan. But can you maintain it?" I froze. Maintain it? Every instinct told me that this was no longer a simple exercise in identity exploration. The apartment, no, the space itself, had become a trap, a stage, a test, and now the final act was unfolding. A door appeared suddenly to my left, sliding open silently as if materializing from the shadows. Beyond it was darkness, thick and impenetrable, yet faint glimmers of light suggested movement. My heart hammered. I could retreat, run back the way I had come, but every reflection in the mirrors lining the hall whispered a challenge: face it or be trapped forever. I stepped inside. The room was empty, or so it seemed. The air was dense, scented faintly with vanilla and something more metallic, unsettling. Then I heard it, a soft shuffle behind me. I spun, nearly losing balance in the heels. A shadow moved just beyond the edge of the light, indistinct but undeniably present. "Ethan." The voice, closer now, intimate and knowing, sent a shiver down my spine. "Do you recognize yourself yet?" I looked into the mirror directly across from me and nearly gasped. The reflection wasn't just feminine, it was sharper, bolder, alive. My reflection's eyes, held a daring I had never seen in myself before. My lips, full and slightly parted, seemed to beckon, to challenge me. I was looking at the person I had secretly wanted to become for years, and yet the fear of exposure, of losing control, of being caught in this delicate persona, threatened to overwhelm me. Then came the first real obstacle. A door behind me slammed shut with a deafening bang. My pulse surged, adrenaline spiking as I realized I was trapped in this room. The heels that had given me poise now felt like shackles. Every movement, every step carried weight. A figure emerged from the shadows, a silhouette at first, gradually revealing itself as another version of me, or someone eerily like me, dressed identically in silk and stockings, a perfect mirror of the transformation I had undergone. My breath caught. Was this real? A hallucination? Or another test? "Do you see what you've become?" the figure whispered. Its voice matched mine in tone, cadence, and pitch. Every word sent a wave of confusion and terror through me. I staggered back, the heels clicking frantically. What are you?" I demanded, though my voice sounded foreign even to myself. "I am you," it said softly. "The part you've hidden, the person you've feared, the identity you've always longed to explore." The room seemed to warp around me, mirrors reflecting angles I hadn't noticed before. Shadows twisted unnaturally. The voice, or voices, became a chorus, whispering, coaxing, teasing. Step further, Ethan. Embrace it, or be trapped forever. Then came the next challenge, a faint movement in the corner. A camera, mounted on a tripod, turned slowly toward me. I realized with a jolt that someone, or something, was recording every motion, every gesture, every reaction. Exposure wasn't hypothetical anymore, it was imminent. Panic surged, threatening to break my composure. But then, a strange exhilaration overtook me. The silk against my skin, the sway of the skirt, the click of the heels, they weren't just symbols of vulnerability anymore. They were power, transformation made tangible. And if I failed, yes, I would be exposed. But if I succeeded, I would own this identity fully, even in the face of scrutiny. I took a deep breath, forcing my trembling hands to steady, adjusting the blouse, smoothing the skirt. My reflection, my doppelganger, mirrored me perfectly, every inch poised, every expression daring. The shadows leaned closer, the light flickered, and the voice whispered again. One step, Ethan. Choose yourself. I stepped forward, feeling the room shift, the mirrors catching every motion. My reflection smiled, bold and teasing. The figure in the shadows shifted, stepping aside, granting passage to the next door. My hands shook as I reached for the knob. A sudden noise behind me, a soft creak, a shuffle, made me spin. The door slammed shut somewhere else in the apartment. The lights flickered violently. I realized then that the orchestrator of this night wasn't done. They wanted more than obedience. They wanted courage, control, and full embrace of the identity I had always feared to express. I opened the next door. Beyond it was a long, narrow corridor lined with mirrors, each reflecting the evolving version of me. The closer I walked, the more distorted the reflections became. Some stretched tall, some softened entirely into femininity. Each mirror seemed to ask, "Are you ready to own this? Are you ready to be seen?" I faltered, heels clicking nervously, but then the voice whispered one final command. "Step forward. Let go. Become who you are in the dark. Before it knows you no longer fear it." I swallowed hard, chest rising and falling rapidly, hands trembling in the silk gloves. Every instinct screamed danger. Every nerve tingled with anticipation. But in that moment, I realized something profound. I had never been this alive. Never been this daring. Never felt the thrilling terror and intoxicating empowerment of fully stepping into a secret self. And just as I lifted my foot to take the next step, the lights flickered one final time. Shadows lengthened, mirrors warped, and a sudden sharp click echoed from the far end of the corridor. The camera clicked as well, as though capturing my heartbeat, my hesitation, my choice. I froze. The voice whispered one last time, intimate and commanding. "Ethan. It knows you now." The corridor stretched endlessly before me. Every reflection, every shadow, every whisper promised revelation, or exposure. My pulse thundered in my ears. The transformation was complete, but the test, the danger, the orchestrator's plan, was far from over. And there, suspended between fear and exhilaration, I realized, the night wasn't done with me. Whoever, or whatever, had orchestrated this darkness was still watching. Still waiting. Still in control. The corridor stretched endlessly, mirrors lining both sides, reflecting an infinite array of me in countless variations. Some were soft and feminine, some sharp and commanding, all watching, waiting. Each reflection seemed alive, eyes glinting with unspoken questions, as though judging my courage and daring me to continue. My heels clicked softly, echoing too loudly in the tense silence. I could feel the orchestrator of this nightmare, or perhaps this awakening, close though I still couldn't see them. The shadows seemed to move independently, stretching, bending, twisting, as though the house itself had become a living entity. My breath caught in my throat, pulse hammering. Then the voice came again, intimate, teasing, almost caressing the edges of my mind. "Ethan. Do you see yourself now? Do you recognize the one you've always been?" I glanced at the mirrors. My reflection stared back, poised, elegant, undeniably transformed. The silk blouse clung to my shoulders, the pencil skirt hugged my hips, and the heels forced a sway I had never felt before. Every movement, every gesture, screamed confidence and vulnerability in equal measure. And yet, fear clawed at my chest. What if someone saw me like this? What if this was permanent? A sudden creak echoed behind me. I spun around. The corridor was empty, or so I thought. Shadows shifted at the edges of my vision, and a faint metallic click echoed through the hallway. My stomach sank. Someone or something was here, observing, judging, waiting for me to falter. The voice whispered again, closer now, almost in my ear. Step forward, Ethan. Or remain trapped in the dark forever. I swallowed hard, palms slick with sweat. Every instinct screamed to flee, but the transformation had done more than change my appearance. It had awakened something inside me: courage, curiosity, a hunger to explore the secret self I had always hidden. The thrill was intoxicating, even as fear gripped me tighter than ever. I took a tentative step forward, then another. The mirrors reflected each motion, each shift in posture, each tremble of my hands. And then I realized, the reflections weren't just copying me. They were watching, anticipating, almost daring me to make a mistake. Another sound, soft, deliberate, like a door closing somewhere far away. I froze. The corridor seemed to tighten around me, walls bending in shadows that weren't there moments before. My heart raced. I understood then that the orchestrator, or whatever force controlled this night, was not finished. Every step I took was being tested, every breath observed. The voice returned one last time, low and commanding. Ethan. It knows you now. And soon, you will know it too. The words sent a shiver down my spine. My reflection in the nearest mirror smiled, bold and teasing, as though daring me to continue. I realized the truth. This wasn't just about exposure or fear. It was about embracing who I was in the shadows, stepping fully into the identity I had only glimpsed in secret, and risking everything to claim it. I reached the end of the corridor. A final door appeared, bathed in a pale, almost otherworldly light. My hands trembled on the knob. The house held its breath. The shadows leaned closer, mirrors reflected angles I had never seen, and the voice whispered, almost reverently, "Open it, Ethan, and become what you were always meant to be." I inhaled, raising my foot to step forward, and then a sudden, sharp click echoed through the corridor. The door to my right swung open violently. I spun, heels clicking frantically. The shadows seemed to pulse with anticipation. My pulse pounded. The orchestrator's plan was far from over. Someone or something was still watching. I froze, caught between fear and exhilaration, reflection and reality, identity and the unknown. Every instinct screamed danger. Every nerve tingled with anticipation. The final choice loomed: step through and embrace the transformation fully, or retreat and risk losing the courage I had just discovered. And then, the lights flickered. The mirrors rippled. The voice whispered, closer than ever, almost in my ear. "Ethan. It knows you. Are you ready to face it?" The corridor stretched endlessly. Shadows leaned in. Reflections multiplied. The door before me awaited. And in that suspended moment, I realized with a mixture of terror and thrill, whatever lay beyond, I could never go back. The story ended there, teetering on the edge of revelation, fear, and transformation. Ethan's fate remained uncertain, leaving the audience to wonder, will he step through? Will he confront the orchestrator? Or will he be trapped forever in the shadows of his own hidden self?